Hey there, you fabulous folks. I hope your day has been absolutely awesome. We're back for another exciting episode of What If Naruto Was the Golden Devil. A big shout out to the amazing author behind this fanfiction and show them some love. You'll find their details in the description box below. If this what if scenario is getting your imagination going, drop a comment down below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to explore more mind-blowing what ifs on the channel. Alright, without further ado, let's jump right into this video. I can't believe Naruto-senpai was beaten like that. Issei muttered from his spot on one of the couches. As soon as Akeno had appeared with an unconscious Naruto, Ryuz immediately went to the blonde's side and checked him for injuries. Most of his wounds were already starting to heal, but the wound in his chest was taking much longer. The redhead had Kaneko help her bring Naruto into the next room where he could rest. Kaneko soon returned to the room, but Ryuz had stayed in the room, most likely to speed up Naruto's recovery. It's been over 2 hours since then, and everyone else in the clubroom waited quietly to hear the current condition of their injured friend. Akeno was silently sitting next to Issei while Kaneko and Kiba were sitting on the couch across from them. Kiba was holding one of his swords, while Kaneko stared at the untouched donut on her plate. I agree, to think a fallen angel could deal so much damage, Kiba replied as his grip tightened. Akeno let out a sigh. The fallen angel he was fighting was much stronger than the ones we fought before. This one not only has another pair of wings, he can summon hundreds of light-based weapons at once, and with the limited power Naruto could use while in a public area like that, the rest didn't need to be said. And now they have Ashia-san and Mito, Kaneko pointed out. The sound of the door opening caught everyone's attention, making them turn to see Ryuz walking into the room with a troubled look on her face. She silently closed the door before walking up to the group. "Bucho, how is he?" Issei asked as the redhead walked past her peerage and made it to her desk. "He's finished healing, but still unconscious." Ryuz answered as she sat down in her seat, making it tilt as she leaned back against it. "There's nothing we can do now beside wait." "But what about Ashia and Mito? They were taken by the fallen angels." Issei exclaimed as he shot out of his seat. "We can't leave them." "I'm already aware of that, Issei." Ryuz interrupted with a hard tone, catching the brunette off guard. His gaze went down to her hands, which were clenched so tightly her knuckles were pale white and her hands shaking. "But we need to think of a plan instead of charging in. It's because they have both of them that we need to do this properly." I understand, Bucho, I'm sorry." Issei's head bowed a bit before he fell back into his seat. Of course Ryuz would be one of the ones most affected by this. She was closer to Naruto and Mito than anyone else in the room. "It's alright." Ryuz leaned forward on her desk, placing her hands together in front of her mouth with her fingers interlocked. "Now then, from what I suspect, they're planning to take Ashia's sacred gear from her, most likely using a special method of sorts. To remove a sacred gear like hers, it'd take a lot of time preparation, meaning that if the message Abazet had left Akeno and Naruto-kun holds true, then we will most likely have until midnight to save Ashia. They will most likely try to kill Mito around the same time as well." "Then what should we do, Bucho?" Kiba asked. "Will they be at the same area?" Kaneko spoke up, her expression never changing as she finally reached down and picked up the donut. Ryuz closed her eyes and thought. The petite girl's question did bring up a good point. There was no proof that Mito was being held in the same place Ashia was. The only thing they had to go on was that the two were at the church, but the area surrounding it was pretty big, meaning Mito could either be in the exact same place as their nun friend or somewhere completely different. "Maybe I can help you guys." A voice spoke up from the entrance, making everyone turn to see Arcude standing there with her arms crossed and a serious expression on her face, until it dropped a second later, and she gave them a wave. "Yahoo!" Meanwhile, in the next room over, Naruto was resting in the bed, bandages wrapped around his chest. The blonde's face scrunched up as little as his body shifted in the bed, azure eyes slowly opened to see a familiar brown ceiling. He slowly lifted his body from the soft mattress and got into a sitting position. The blanket that had been covering him fell to show that his shirt had been removed, and bandages were securely wrapped around his torso. One of his hands reached up to the bandages around his torso before gripping them tightly. "So, Akeno managed to bring me to the club building," Naruto said to no one before his body started to tremble. Memories of the pathetic excuse for a battle that he had with Abazet flashed through his mind. Damn it. He raised his other hand and clenched it into a fist before slamming it into the mattress. "You're awake, Naruto-sama." "I'm glad." He turned his head to see Saber sitting on the counter near the bed, sitting in a Caesar position. The tiny girl lowered the upper half of her body and bowed to Naruto. "My deepest apologizes. It was because of me that you lost to Abazet and Mito-san and Ashia-san were taken." "Raise your head, Saber. It's my fault, not yours," Naruto replied as he looked back down at the sheets that covered him. Shaking his head, he moved his feet over the edge of the bed and stood off the bed. Reached his hand up to his bandages again. He tore it off with a strong pull. Looking down at his chest, he saw that the giant wound that had gone right through his chest was completely gone. "Your healing power is incredible, and it was able to not only keep me alive, even when my heart was pierced through, but heal it completely." "Naruto-sama." Saber looked up in confusion and was surprised when she saw he was standing and removing his bandages. What are you doing? Right now, Mito-chan and Ashia-chan are in the hands of those fallen angels. Naruto noticed his shirt laying on the chair next to the counter Saber was sitting on, moving over to pick it up when he saw it was full of holes. I need to rescue them. But you still haven't reached full power. That doesn't matter. Naruto exclaimed as he turned to look at Saber. It's my job as an older brother to protect them, and I did nothing as they were taken. How am I supposed to stand back and worry about such things when I know they're in danger? Naruto's flashed red and his power swirled around him. Naruto-sama, Saber muttered, looking up at her master with a surprised look. It doesn't matter whether or not I'm at full power or half power, whether I'm the strongest or the weakest, I will save them, I swear on my life. Naruto stared down at his clenched hand before looking back at Saber. Saber, will you help me? Saber stared at him for not even a second before nodding her head. Of course, I will follow you to my last breath. You are my master and friend. Thank you. Naruto nodded his head before turning away from her, and created a small magic circle above his hand, summoning a shirt from his house. Quickly putting it on, he started to make his way out of the room. Let's go, Saber. Hi, Naruto-sama. Saber extended her wings outward and flew to his side. But as he reached a hand out to the door, a voice called out from behind him. You definitely have the determination to charge in, but you lack the power needed to defeat that fallen angel. Naruto's body froze up for a second before he turned around and saw a dark orange-red magical circle glowing behind him, and saw a woman standing there with a hand on her hip. She was a very beautiful woman who appeared to be in her early to mid-20s, but Naruto had a feeling she was much older than she appeared. The woman had long, and strangely familiar, red hair that was made into a high ponytail that reached down to her lower back. Her eyes were crimson red. She was wearing a long red dress with a large orange stripe in the front, which was framed by smaller black stripes. The dress also had long black sleeves that extended to her wrists, multiple red diamond-shaped patterns following it down. Naruto narrowed his eyes, his guard up almost instantly. Who are you? How did you get here? No need to get so defensive, young man. The woman said with a smile as she stepped out of the circle and walked up to him. Naruto only managed to take a step back before she appeared in front of him in an instant, catching him by surprise, as she raised a hand up under his chin. To think you would become a devil after all. What do you mean by that? Naruto questioned as he let his magic flow around him, but to his surprise, it wasn't just the golden light he usually had, there was also the same dark energy that he had emitted earlier. What the? The woman let out a giggle as continued to hold on to his chin, ignoring the golden and dark aura surrounding him. It looks like that battle you had earlier awakened your original magical properties. My original properties. Naruto slowly and hesitantly dismissed his magic. It was obvious that this woman was very strong, seeing as she could be in full contact with his light magic and not be affected by it. And the fact that she didn't attack him as soon as she entered the room was something to go on as well, because there was no doubt in his mind that if she had wanted to, she could have made him a smear on the wall in an instant. What does that mean? Your powers over light, it was given to you by a holy artifact, that little girl over there to be exact. Her gaze shifted to Saber, who was stared back at her with a cool expression, before going back to Naruto. It is an amazing power for a devil to have, but tell me, do you really believe that is the only magic you have? There is a second power within you, one that was passed down through several generations, and that has been inside you since you were born. Generations? You're talking about that ancestor of mine, the reason those fallen angels have targeted Mito-chan and I. Naruto growled as he finally pushed the woman's hand away. Who the hell is this guy anyway? To be so dangerous that his descendants are targeted for having his blood. The woman stared at Naruto for a few moments before letting out a sigh. Very well, if you truly want to know then I will tell you. Crossing her arms under her large chest, her eyes stared directly into Naruto's. Your ancestor was once one of the 4 devils that ruled over the underworld, before he died in the Great War. Before his death, he was the leader and most powerful of the previous 4 great Satans. Wait a minute, Naruto's eyes widened as he recalled what both Saber and Rias had told him about the old Satans. You're telling me that I'm... Yes, you and Mito are descendants of Lucifer, his great-grandchildren to be precise. I'm the descendant of a devil. That's the reason why Mito and I were targeted. Naruto clenched his fists as he narrowed his eyes again. Tell me, who are you? How could you know something like that? Letting out a laugh, the woman gave him a smile. There's no reason I wouldn't know about you too, Naruto-kun. I am the reason you both are alive in this day and age after all. What? Naruto raised an eyebrow. I suppose it's not impossible for you to not know who I am. After all, both Kushina and I had decided I would not interfere in either of your lives, until you both awakened your powers. The woman tilted her head to the side and gave him a warm, and very familiar, smile. We both wanted you two to enjoy your normal lives before becoming a part of our world. My mother. Naruto took a step back in surprise. Now he knew why her hair was so familiar. It was the same color as his mother and sister. Unlike Ria's blood red hair, their hair color was a vibrant red. If what this woman just said was right, then that means, wait a minute, does this mean you're mine? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kaguya Uzumaki Lucifer. She brought a hand out to him, still smiling at him the entire time. It's nice to finally meet you, my handsome grandson. Grandmother, so this means, I really am a devil. Half devil to be precise. Your mother is a pure-blooded devil, while your father is a human. Kaguya explained as Naruto took a step back. Well, that was what you were before the Gremory heir tried to use her evil piece on you. Right now, you could say you're a full devil, but at the same time you are not a complete one. Complete? What does that mean? Naruto crossed his arms as Saber moved to sit on his shoulder, unleashing his golden wings. I may not be a member of a peerage, but I'm still a devil. My wings and powers are proof of that. Kaguya looked at the wings with a fascinated expression before speaking. So your wings are a different color as well. I must say, you've really become a unique type of devil. However, the woman released her own wings, but to Naruto's shock, there were 14 black devil wings coming out of her back. You still aren't close to reaching your true power. How can you have so many? I thought only angels and fallen angels could have more than one set of wings, Naruto asked as he examined the wings behind her. Saber stared in amazement. In all her years she had never seen a devil with so many wings before. Angels yes, fallen angels yes, but never a devil. Yes, I am a pureblood devil, and daughter to Lucifer. Kaguya placed a hand on her hip. You see, all those that have the Lucifer bloodline flowing through their veins will have more than one set of wings. This is how devils can know that we are part of the Lucifer clan. Also, the more wings that a devil has represents how powerful they are, and as you can see I have 7 sets. Naruto stared at his grandmother's wing in amazement before shaking his head. So how come I only have 1 set? I know I'm not that weak. Like I said before, you may have awakened as a devil, but you haven't truly become one yet. Kaguya replied before giving Naruto a hard look, and if you go to fight the fallen angels the way you are now, you will die. Naruto's fists clenched as he narrowed his eyes at the woman. He was quiet for a minute. Is that all you came to say? Kaguya said nothing at that, while Saber turned to look at her master. I already know that I'm not at my full power, but even then, I'll fight to save my sisters. Watching her grandson turn away from her, Kaguya called out to him. Naruto-kun. And while I know that you guys were only trying to protect us, it's because you didn't tell us the truth that things have gotten like this. Naruto spoke up as he started walking to the door again. Knowing the truth now doesn't really help us with this situation. As he grabbed onto the handle, Kaguya spoke up again. It will if you truly desire to become a complete devil, to access your true power. That is why I'm here after all. Pausing mid-turn, Naruto looked back at the Redeed. What are you talking about? Using my magic and the blood connection between us, I can finish the process and turn you into a pure-blooded devil like I am thanks to a certain spell, and when that happens you will become my heir. It was the original way that I was going to turn you and your sister when you were ready. Kaguya explained with a serious look, but if you decide to do this then you can never go back, your path as a pureblood will be set, and you will be X'd. That's fine. Naruto interrupted as he turned his body around completely. Make me a pureblood devil and unlock my powers. Naruto-sama. You didn't let her finish. Saber exclaimed as she jumped off his shoulder and flew in front of his face. This isn't something you can decide so quickly. Saber Lily, you already know that I made up my mind to become as strong as I can, so I could protect the people closest to me. Fighting against someone like Abazov, or anyone else that are even stronger than him, I can't afford for that kind of battle to happen again. Naruto closed his eyes while bringing a clenched fist up, thinking back to how weak and pathetic he was, before snapping his eyes open and looking at Saber with a determined look. If the chance to get stronger is right in front of me, I can't turn away from it because of fear. You said during our fight with Arcueid that you will stay by my side no matter what. You meant that, didn't you? Saber was quiet as she stared into Naruto's eyes before nodding her head. Of course I did, I swear on my honor as a knight. Thank you, Saber. Naruto said with a smile before looking at Kaguya. Alright, so how do we do this? Kaguya nodded her head before creating a magical circle around her. Naruto noticed the symbol inside the orange circle was a spiral with 4 sharp, slightly curved points. This must be the symbol for Lucifer. It is a simple process. The first thing we must do is exchange blood. This will strengthen the connection between you and the devil blood of our clan. Then I cast a spell that not only marks you as my heir, but it also will turn you into a pureblood devil, and release all the power you were holding back. I see, that does sound simple. If you don't mind me asking this out of curiosity, what will happen to my class and all that other stuff? Naruto asked as he remembered what Rias had told him about purebloods and heirs to devil families. I am sure you already know, any heirs or heiresses of a family must be a high-class devil. With the power you will gain, as well as the ranking from becoming the heir to the Lucifer clan, you will be on the same class as any other devil with such responsibilities. Kaguya explained as she summoned a small dagger. Do you have any other questions before we begin? Yes, too. The first one is what would happen if the others come inside right in the middle of this? Naruto questioned as he thought about what she had said. They won't detect what is happening. I created a small barrier around us. Kaguya replied while motioning to the ceiling where a Lucifer symbol was resting. It will dismiss itself as soon as my spell is cast. What is your second question? How long will it take? Naruto asked. Since you are going to go to the church to save Mito-chan and the Sashi girl, I am going to have to speed up the process, and have you become a pureblood and release your power all at once. Kaguya said as Naruto walked into the circle, leaving Saber to float outside the circle with a small look of concern on her face, and stopped in front of you. I will not lie, you will feel some pain when that happens. That's fine, I'm ready. Naruto said as he held his hand out to his grandmother. Let's get this thing started. Kaguya nodded her head before bringing the dagger to Naruto's hand, making the blonde flinch a bit as she cut across his palm. After making sure it didn't heal itself, the female devil raised her own hand, and did the same to her palm. The two brought their bloody hands together and their blood mixed, a few bloods falling onto the circle below them, and caused it to glow brighter. Blood of my blood, child of my child, may our bloodline remain united and strong. Their hands glowed a dark orange for a second before the blood evaporated around them. Kaguya nodded her head, then took a few steps back until she was out of the circle and standing next to Saber, extending her hand outward. Okay, the first part is done. And now, hear my words, as the head of the Lucifer clan. I, Kaguya Uzumaki Lucifer, name my grandson, Naruto Uzumaki, as my heir and the future head. With my blood circling through your veins I rename you, Naruto Uzumaki Lucifer. Be reborn as my heir and lead our family towards the future. The circle around Naruto started to glow even brighter as its energy lifted from the clan symbol and entered Naruto's body. The blonde gritted his teeth in pain, as his body felt like it was burning. This way a lot different from when he became a devil through Ria's attempt. It felt like his blood was boiling, and he had a sharp pain going up his spine. That's when he felt it, like a switch being turned. Energy suddenly burst out of his body and covered the room, blocking Saber from seeing her master. Naruto-sama. Underworld. Grimoire Estate. The silver-haired woman was walking down a hallway when she suddenly came to a stop, turning her head to one of the windows near her. Grafia-chan, are you okay? A red-haired man asked as he noticed the woman had stopped walking with him to their destination. When the woman didn't reply, the man called out to her again. Grafia-chan. That caught her attention as she turned to look at him. I apologize, Suzuki-sama, is something wrong? Wow, you were out, that's not nice, ignoring your awesome and lovable husband like that. He was cut off from speaking as she pulled his cheek. Please refrain from speaking like that while I am working, Suzuki-sama. Grafia said as she continued to pull her husband's cheek, mentally wondering to herself what she had just sensed for a brief moment. It was somehow familiar to her. Unknown area. A male figure wearing a silver robe with detailed accessories perked his head up. He could sense something strangely familiar for a second before it disappeared. Shaking his head, the cloaked figure turned around and disappeared into the shadows. Underworld. Grigori headquarters. A young man with dark silver hair and light blue eyes was seen walking down a path with his hands in his pockets, on his way to give his mission report to his leader. The man stopped walking and blinked a few times. A strange feeling went through his body. What the hell? The man thought before bringing a hand up to his chest. A few seconds later he lowered his hand and shook his head before continuing his way. Whatever, it's gone now. Maybe I can talk to Azazel about getting another mission. I need to fight someone strong. Kuoh Academy Student Council Room. Sona was sitting at her desk, finishing up the paperwork she had been working on involving both the student council and her peerage. Just like Ria's, she had just added a new member to her peerage. He was currently out passing flyers with another member, while other members of her peerage were handling their requests. Now that she thought about it, maybe she should stop by the occult research club in a week or so. Her thought halted as she sensed a powerful aura appear out of nowhere. It was incredibly high, and it was coming from the old school building where Ria's and her peerage were located. However, this power did not belong to any of them. Though it wasn't as strong the last time she felt it, she had sensed this power before and knew who it belonged to. Turning her chair a bit to face the window, Sona's gaze went to the building that resided in the large area of trees. Curiosity piquing as she knew that Naruto was powerful, but he wasn't able to access it. But what she was currently sensing was above both Ria's and her levels. Naruto-san. The cult clubroom. So they are keeping Ashia-san underneath the church, where they will be holding the ceremony. And Mito-chan is in the old area behind it, Ria said as Arcueid finished telling them what was happening. So the two of them are in different areas. So what do we do, Bucho? Issei asked as he turned from the vampire to look at his king. Rias closed her eyes for a second before slowly opening them again. We'll most likely need to divide ourselves in two groups, and the first group goes to rescue Ashia-san, while the other goes after Mito-chan. Since the bigger threat is Abaza, Bakeno and I will. She was cut off as everyone felt a strong pressure build on top of them. Issei was having the most trouble handling the huge amount of power covering the room, though he was still able to keep himself up and breathe, while Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko seemed to only have slight issues. The only ones who were completely fine were Arcueid and Rias, who almost jumped out of her seat as she recognized the power she was feeling. This power, it belongs to Naruto-kun, he's awake. But since when was Naruto-senpai this strong? Kiba asked as he stood up from his seat. His powers must have fully released themselves. We should go see him. Boo. A red blur went right past her and out the door into the hallway to enter the next room. Ciao, there she goes. Fufufu. The raven-haired girl laughed into her hand before she and the others followed after Rias. When they caught up with her, she had the doors wide open and was staring inside with a look of surprise on her face. They joined her and looked inside themselves with shocked expressions, as they saw Naruto standing in the center of an orange magical circle, with golden light magic and darkness magic swirling around him. But what caught their attention the most was the 8 golden bat wings stretched out from his back. A few feet away from him, Saber and a red-headed woman were watching Naruto in silence. Naruto-kun. Rias called out, making the blonde turn his head to look at her, revealing crimson-red eyes staring into her blue-green ones. Are you alright? I'm better than alright, Naruto grinned as he looked at the buxom girl. I feel incredible. But how do you have so many wings? Rias asked before she started walking up to him. Naruto quickly dismissed the magic circling around him as she got close. And your power, you finally obtained it. Yes, the spell was a success. Everyone turned to the red-headed woman, who crossed her arms under her breasts, making Issei grow a perverted expression as her chest bounced a little. Now you have truly become a devil, Naruto-kun. Who are you? Rias questioned with narrow eyes as she faced the woman. I don't recall inviting you into my headquarters. That's because you didn't. I entered into the building with my power. The barrier you placed over the building is very strong, but not enough for someone like me. Kaguya said cheerfully before moving her head towards the others. It's been a while, Arcade. Yeah, it has, Kaguya, a century or two I think. I'm glad to see you're doing fine. Arcade smiled at the woman. Everyone looked between the two with confused looks. It seemed the two knew each other. So does this mean you knew all along, Arcade, about me and my family? Naruto dismissed his wings as he stared at his vampire friend, who nodded her head. Why didn't you say anything? It wasn't my place to. Besides, I had a feeling Kaguya would make her appearance sooner or later, so I kept quiet about it. Arcade admitted. Naruto was quiet for a few moments before nodding his head. He couldn't really be angry with the girl, like she said. His grandmother was the one who was better suited for this. Alright, before we get off track, Rias interrupted as she turned to Naruto. Who is this woman, Naruto-kun, and what did she mean by a spell? Rias-chan, this is my grandmother. She's a devil. That threw everyone for a loop as they looked at the young woman, who gave them a kind smile and a wave. She's came here to unlock my powers. Grandmother Issei exclaimed as stared at the beautiful woman with a look of disbelief. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you for taking care of my grandson. Kaguya looked at everyone in the room before stopping at Rias. You're the sister to the current Lucifer, correct? Yes, I am, ma'am. The younger redhead nodded her head, many thoughts going through her head as she stared at the woman. His power was incredibly high, more than likely the same level as her brother. My name is Rias Gremory. It's funny, the sister to the current Lucifer is involved with the great-grandson of the first. Kaguya said as she brought a hand up to her face with a giggle. That caught Kiba's attention before he spoke up. Excuse me. Did you just say, great-grandson? Kaguya nodded her head. Yes, I did. Naruto-kun and Mito-chan received their devil blood from their mother, who in return received it from me. I am Kaguya Uzumaki Lucifer, daughter of Lucifer and the head of the clan. Rias and the others stared at her in amazement. So that spell you were talking about before, Akeno began to say, recalling what the woman had said earlier. It was to name Naruto-kun as my heir. Kaguya finished with a smile. The spell also remade his body and turned him into a pureblood devil. So that means you're now an heir to a devil family, meaning you are no longer a low-class devil. Rias deduced as she studied Naruto's form. Aside from his eyes turning red, there wasn't any other major changes. You are on the same class as I am. Yeah, but we'll talk about it later. Right now we need to go save Ashia-chan and Mito-chan. Naruto replied, turning his head to look at the redhead. I'm guessing you already know what the situation is. Grace nodded her head as she crossed her arms under her chest. Of course, we already have a plan on what to do, and now that you're awake, we can get moving. Naruto grew a smirk. Perfect. Then let's kick some ass. What an intense killing intent. Issei said as he stared at the entrance of the old church from behind one of the trees. With him were Kiba, who was behind a tree next to him, Kaneko, who was kneeling behind a bush, and Arcade, who was standing there with her arms crossed. Yeah, there must be a lot of priests inside. Kiba agreed with a smile. Arcade tilted her head to the side, a bored look on her face. It's not that bad, I've felt a lot worse. Issei turned to look at her with a sweat drop. I don't want to know what you've gone up against. Shaking his head a bit, Issei thought back to what Rias had said to him earlier, when she was explaining her plan to everyone. Flashback. Issei, Kiba, Kaneko and Arcade, you four will be the first group. This means you four will go into the church to rescue Ashia-san. Be on your guard while you are inside. Rias said as she looked at everyone in the main clubroom. Kaguya had left a few minutes ago after telling Naruto that she would see him again after they finished their mission. Hi Bucho, Issei did a salute. You can count on us. Kiba replied as he adjusted the sword at his waist, while Kaneko just nodded her head. Why am I going with them? Arcuite asked with a small frown. She didn't mind helping them out, but she'd rather be with Naruto and watch his battle with the boss. Naruto was the one to answer, already figuring out what Rias had in mind. We need someone powerful with the group, in case something goes wrong and they can't reach Ashi-chan. With your speed and power, you're the perfect choice to help get her out of there safely, while Issei and the others hold them off. Well, I'd rather fight and kill them. I understand what you're saying. Arcuite replied while crossing her arms. Alright, I'll do it. Thank you, Arcuite. Naruto said with a smile. Oh no, sorry, but will I really be of much help? Everyone turned to Issei, who had a slightly nervous look. I'm more than happy to help, but can a pawn like me do anything beneficial? I mean, I am one of the weakest pieces. Issei, do you really believe the pawn is the weakest piece? Rias asked from her spot at her desk. Pawns may not have powerful increases in skills like the other pieces do, but they have a unique ability to them. A unique ability. Issei repeated as he looked at his king with curiosity in his eyes. It's the ability of promotion. You see, like in chess, when a pawn reaches and enters into enemy territory, they can promote themselves to any other piece, except for the king. A pawn can also be given permission to promote by their king. This ability makes pawns a very valuable piece to have. So I can have the same powers as the others. Rias nodded her head at his question. Since you are going to be entering the church, which is enemy territory, you'll be able to promote yourself. Raising her hand in a gesture motion, she continued. And remember this, a sacred gear works in accordance with its master's will. So the stronger your will is, the more your sacred gear will work for you. The power of my will. Issei looked down at his hand, the one that held his sacred gear, before snapping his head back up with a look of determination. Alright, I'll do my best. I'm glad to hear that, Issei. The brunette turned to see Naruto grin at him. I'm counting on you guys to rescue Ashi-chan, while I am saving Mito and settling things with the boss. You can count on me, Naruto-senpai. Issei was surprised when Naruto lifted a fist up. Huh. In my family, when someone makes a promise, they keep it and do whatever they can to make it happen. Naruto said as he stared at Issei. If you really mean what you say, then I'll trust you to handle it. Nodding his head, Issei felt a grin of his own grow, as he bumped his left fist into Naruto's. That is a promise, Naruto-senpai, and I won't let you down. Good, Naruto replied as he lowered his hand and moved closer to Rias and Akeno. The three of us will be focusing on saving Mito-chan and dealing with as many fallen angels as we can, so you four should just have to deal with the exorcists, and... Flashback end. Yuma-chan, Issei thought sadly before shaking his head as he narrowed his eyes. No, that wasn't her real name, it's Rainer. Are you okay, Issei? Kiba asked as he noticed the brunette seemed to be deep in thought. Issei turned to the blonde with a nod and a relieved smile. Yeah, I'm fine, but with all these enemies around, I'm really glad you guys are here to help. Of course, we're friends after all. We watch out for our comrades. Kiba said with a smile, before it disappeared as Kiba looked away with a dark expression. Besides, fallen angels are my least favorite people. No, it's more like the people I hate and despise. Kiba. Issei looked at the knight with a confused look before noticing Kaneko and Arcuite were walking to the church doors. Kaneko-chan. Arcuite-senpai. There's no point in sneaking in, since they know we're here. Arcuite said as she walked next to Kaneko with her hands behind her back. So let's get inside. Kaneko raised a leg up and kicked the doors wide open. The group walked into the building, taking in the horrible condition it was in, with destroyed statues, broken glass windows and demolished pillars. As they got closer to the altar, the sound of clapping was heard. Well, look what we have here. A voice spoke up as a figure walked out of the shadows. Issei, Kiba and Kaneko were surprised as the figure walked into the moonlight to reveal a perfectly alive and well-freed, who was giving them a crazed look. If it isn't the shitty devils who got away from me. Meanwhile. Ah, this is freaking boring. A petite blonde girl with blue eyes said as she sat on a tree branch, kicking her feet out of boredom. She was wearing a black goth loli dress with white frills, a large black bow on the front, and white thigh-high socks and black shoes. Why did we have to end up with lookout duty? Because Abaza-sama and Rainer-sama told us to. Middle. The blonde girl to the side, where a slender woman with short black shoulder-length hair was standing next to her. This woman was wearing a red and violet blouse with detached sleeves and white pants, and red shoes. If you want to disobey orders and get killed, then be my guest. Oh, shut it, Sarari. I know that. The blonde replied before she noticed two different lights coming from the ground. The lights were two different magic circles, which disappeared to reveal three figures, a man and two women. Looks like we have some excitement after all. Hello there, I am known as the Fallen Angel Middle. Middle gave the three a smile as she landed on the ground in front of them. What an interesting girl. Akeno said with a hand against her cheek. And who is your friend? Sarari. The woman landed next to Middle, summoning a white spear of light. Rias had an amused look on her face. We must have put a lot of fear into you all, to actually put guards up. Not really, we just needed to make sure the ceremony isn't interrupted. Middle replied. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we already have a group who are most likely entering the building as we speak. Akeno spoke up. Seriously, Middle exclaimed as she turned around to look in the direction of the church. Yup, they went through the front doors. Rias answered with a smirk, making the girl let out a frustrated yell. I told you I could handle the back by myself, but you were too stubborn to believe me. This is on you. Sareri commented as she gave her ally a blank look. Having both of us in one area is a stupid idea. Shut up. I thought they would be coming through the back. Middle shouted before suddenly calming herself down, turning back to look at the devils with a cold smile. Oh well, it's not like they can put a dent in our defense, especially with our numbers. Besides, the real danger is you three, correct? So why are you three here instead of with them? Are they decoys? No really, Naruto finally spoke, catching the fallen angel's attention. We're not with their group. We have plans of our own. She stared at him for a moment before a look of realization appeared. Oh, then you must be here for the other girl, the one with the Bazasama. That's right, so how about you tell us where they are? Rias crossed her arms as she looked at the blonde girl. I take it you're Naruto Uzumaki. Sareri said as she stared at the only male of the group. That's right, now where is he? Naruto answered with narrow eyes. Unfortunately for you, we don't plan on letting you leave this area. A third female voice called out as a buxom woman, long, navy blue hair and brown eyes, appeared behind them via portal. Her outfit consisted of a violet trenchcoat-like top with a white collar and a matching miniskirt, and black-heeled shoes. As much as we don't want to suffer Bazasama's wrath, we can't afford to let you live. That extends to the rest of you. It looks like everyone's here. Akeno said in amusement. With a powerful flap of their black wings, the three fallen angels took to the air. Middle and Calwarner created their own spears of light, and the women posed to throw. Akeno. Rias signaled, making the buxom girl next to her nod at her head before using her power to change her outfit, with a bolt of lightning striking her from above. Akeno's school uniform was replaced with a traditional Maiko outfit. Naruto knew from experience that was her Priestess of Thunder mode, a form she used when she needed to use powerful spells. Akeno channeled some of her magic and formed a few hand signs before casting her spell, forming a large barrier around the 6 supernatural beings. It's a barrier, Calwarner exclaimed as the multiple magical seal creating the barrier circled around them. And a fierce one at that. Middle added, noticing the magical seal sparked with electricity. Akeno gave a few of her fingertips an erotic lick. Her face was a little flustered as she spoke. You three are not leaving this forest. You bitch, this was what you wanted all along. The brunette fallen angel shouted in anger. Aya's smirk grew bigger as she stared up at the woman. Of course, and now that most of you are all together, I believe it's time to get rid of some filth. While the conversation went back and forth between Rias and the fallen angels, Naruto was quietly sensing for Mito and Ibaza's presence, his eyes closed as he focused. After a few moments he was able to pick up a powerful aura and killer intent coming from a distance away. Opening his eyes he turned his head to Rias and Akeno. I found them, they're in an area west of here. I see, alright Naruto-kun, you go on ahead. Rias said to him, making him nod his head before he started to turn his body around, but was stopped when he felt a hand grab onto his. The blonde turned his head back and saw Rias looking at him with a combined look of concern and encouragement. This time, please stay safe and win. Don't worry, I promise I'll be fine. Naruto smiled back at her. And I'll be right by his side. Saber said as she appeared next to his head. She turned to look at him. Ready Naruto-sama? Not yet. Naruto said, confusing Rias and Akeno. Saber, this time we're going in with that. Saber nodded her head with a confident smile. Hi Naruto-sama. Okay Saber, guardian mode. As soon as the words left his mouth, the tiny girl started to glow and turn into a golden orb before slamming into his chest, causing his own body to glow before covering him in a golden light. When the light died down, Rias, Akeno and the fallen angels were shocked at Naruto's new appearance. His clothes had transformed into navy blue outfit with an equally blue robe that reached to his feet, with a hood hanging behind his head. Over the head the customary knight armor, involving silver boots that went up his legs, a silver torso that extended past his waist, but while his arms had armor that connect to his silver gauntlets, his right arm was covered by the robe's sleeve. All in all, Naruto's appearance was very similar to a knight's. The girls gave him a surprised look as they stared at his form. Rias soon spoke up with her eyes wide. Naruto-kun, what is that? Oh that's right, I never got to show you this. This is what happened during my training with Arcuate. It turned Saber and her power into an armor that boosts my capabilities, as well as my control over light magic. We call it the Guardian Armor, though. Naruto looked down at his outfit. When I first did, it could only cover my arm. I guess it's because my powers were released. Indeed, this form is much stronger than the first time we did it. Saber's voice was heard from the armor, startling Rias and Akeno a bit. Anyway, we should get moving Naruto-sama. Right, stay safe you two. I'll meet up with you guys after I save Mito-chan. Naruto gave the two a smile before turning around, not noticing the blushes that appeared on Rias and Akeno's faces. It might have been the appearance his armor gave her his release, but something about Naruto seemed different from before, something that gave him a more mature and powerful form. You won't escape. Mill shouted before she threw her spear at Naruto, who continued walking away as the spear got close. Just as it was about to hit, a golden barrier appeared behind him, blocking the attack and sent it flying back. What the hell? He's a powerful one. I can see why Abaza-sama is so interested in fighting him. It's be expected from the descendant of Lucifer, Sareri said as she focused more power into her spear, altering it and making it bigger. Let's see how you handle this. The spear headed towards Naruto at incredible speeds, but instead of making contact with the barrier, the spear of light exploded into thin threads that wrapped around Naruto's body, causing him to halt as he looked down at the thread with a blank expression. Those light threads have the same power as our spears. Its light properties will weaken you, and those threads will rip you to shreds. The fallen angel was cut off by the sound of giggling, making her turn to see Akeno was laughing into her hand. It seems they really don't know about Naruto's powers, Bucho. They really need to work on gathering intel. Yes, they certainly do, Akeno, Rias replied as she closed her eyes, but the look of amusement was still on her face. What the hell are you talking about? Sareri questioned before feeling an incredible amount of power surround Naruto. She turned to see the threads she wrapped him in quickly snapped, as Naruto ripped the threads apart with ease. That shouldn't be possible. Naruto didn't even pay attention to the fallen angels as he turned to Akeno. Can you let me out? I'd rather not get electrocuted while forcing my way through. That's too bad. I would have loved to have seen that, oh well. Making a small hand sign, Akeno created a small hole in the barrier for Naruto to walk through. Once he was gone, Akeno closed the hole, and turned to look up at the women above them. Everything is going according to the plan you and Naruto made, Bucho. Of course, now everything is in place, Rias said, looking up at the fallen angels. Inside the church. Now this is fun. Fried shouted as he clashed blades with Kiba sparks, fly into the air from their blades connecting. With an insane grin, Fried raised his gun at Kiba's head before firing multiple shots, but Kiba used his superior speed to dodge each one, and backflipped a few feet away. Guess there's more to you than just a pretty face. And I guess there's more to you than an insane personality, Kiba replied as he shifted his sword a bit, the blade turning pitch black. Fried stuck out his tongue before charging forward and swung his sword at Kiba, who retaliated with his own sword. As soon as the two blades touched, Kiba's black sword grew a little as it started to swallow the light from Fried's blade. Sorry, but my holy eraser is a sword that devours light. With a powerful shove, Kiba made Fried retreat a few feet back. Damn it, you're a sacred gear user too. Fried sneered as he tossed the useless sword held away. Boost. Fried snapped his head to the side to see Issei running at him, the green gem on his sacred gear shining with a green light. The priest pointed his gun at the brunette and started to fire a barrage of bullets. Promotion. Rook. Now Fried, this is for what you did to Ashi the other night. Bringing his hand back, Issei slammed his fist into Fried's face with the incredible strength he gained from the rook piece, and sent the white-haired boy flying through the air and crashing through a table. Man, that felt good. Keeping his sword at the ready, Kiba walked a few steps closer as he stared at Fried. Why don't you tell us how are you still alive? Naruto-senpai said he destroyed your heart, and I know that no human could survive that. Fried was silent for a few seconds before he started to let out a chuckle, and it soon grew into an insane laughter. So that asshole's name is Naruto, huh? I guess I should thank him then. Getting back to his feet, the priest swayed a little bit before a giant evil grin grew. To tell you the truth, my ticker's still not ticking. What? But how are you even alive then? Issei shouted as he and the others stared at Fried's form. But before the man could answer, Arcude spoke up. I'm surprised to see that these fallen angel actually used that. I had thought they destroyed everything involving that project. Arcude-senpai, do you know what it is? Kiba asked, turning his head to look at the vampire. Yes, I do. It was a project that the fallen angels had attempted centuries ago. Both they and the angels had tried to copy the devil's evil peace system's ability to be able to turn other beings into one of them. Arcude started to explain, never taking her eyes off of Fried. Wait, so both the angels and fallen angels tried to copy off the devils? Issei questioned with a raised eyebrow. Arcude nodded her head before she continued her explanation. Yes, the angels were successful in duplicating it, but with playing cards instead of chess pieces, and named it the Brave Saint system. The fallen angels' attempt, which was called the Dusk Paradise system and used puzzle pieces, ended in failure. Every time they tried to turn someone or something into a fallen angel, it was create horrible side effects to the person that was being turned, and the person who inserted the piece. So the leader of the fallen angels ordered the destruction of Dusk Paradise project. The vampire girl's eyes narrowed as she looked at Fried, but it seems there was still one piece left. That's right. The fallen angels brought me back to life even more badass than before. Fried exclaimed as a single black wing popped out his back, the gun in his hand glowing brightly as he pointed it at the devils and vampire. The best part is that with this new power, I can do this. As he pulled the trigger, the barrel of his gun had energy pouring out of it, making it resemble a cross. Divine judgment. The small gun released a large beam of light and made its way towards the four. That thing's huge, Kiba said as he raised Holy Eraser up. That's what Xiao. Issei cried out in pain as Kaneko threw a broken armrest from one of the seats at his head. Come on, it was a good one. Pervert. Arcuate silently walked ahead of the devils and raised a hand as the beam got close, but when it made contact with her hand, it didn't budge another inch. This attack is all for show, it's too weak to kill someone, like me. Her hand glowed red as her nails grew a bit, narrowing her eyes a bit. Arcuate closed her hand around the attack, causing cracks to appear all around it before it exploded. Issei and the others covered their eyes from the bright light as it shined across the room for a few seconds before it quickly dissipated. They opened their eyes again as Arcuate spoke up. Another failure that they messed up on was that the increase in power involving using light magic, it only gave a little boost. This priest may be stronger, but I doubt he can use light spears and such, meaning his only weapons are his swords and gun. Then we'll defeat him quickly and be done with it. Issei exclaimed as he was about to move forward when the blonde female raised her arm up. Arcuate-senpai. If you haven't realized it by now, this guy's only here to buy time for the ceremony. If you keep fighting him like this, then your time will be wasted, and Ashia will be dead before you even get down to where they are holding her. Arcuate explained as she shifted her gaze to the brunette, and if I recall correctly, you promised Naruto that you would save her. Issei's eyes widened as he remembered his promise with Naruto, right, but what about Freed? I'll deal with him, you three head downstairs. As she said this, Kaneko kicked the altar away to reveal a hidden passage. I'll finish this guy quickly and join up with you guys, it won't even take 5 minutes. 5 minutes? You're pretty confident, Bick. He stopped mid-sentence as Arcuate instantly appeared above him with a leg in the air, her body emanating a humongous amount of power. Well, fuck. The vampire brought her leg down on top of him, creating an explosion of concrete and dust. Come on Issei, now's our chance. Kiba said as he pulled Issei's arm lightly, getting a nod from the perverted devil before they ran down the steps. Naruto was making his way through the forest at high speed, maneuvering past several trees as he followed the energy signature he had picked up. Seeing a clearing up ahead, the blonde slowly came to a stop as he reached the last tree lining just before it. Naruto braced himself before walking into the clearing, readying himself for any sneak attacks. So you finally arrived, Naruto Uzumaki. Following the voice upward, he could see a Bazooth flying over him with his 4 wings out. And here I was afraid I would need to do something to ease my boredom. Where's my sister? Naruto asked as he glared up at the fallen angel. Now that's very rude, no hello or anything. Bazooth replied with a grin as he looked down at Naruto. It seems you managed to gain quite a bit of power, amazing since it was just over 5 hours ago. Where is my sister? Naruto asked again, this time releasing some of his power. Alright, if you're so worried about her. Bazooth shrugged as he descended down to the ground, folding his wings as his feet touched the grassy floor. With a snap of his fingers a large box of light appeared next to him, and it dispersed to reveal a tied-up Mito, who had a scared look on her face. Ani-chan. Mito cried out as she struggled in her bindings. Bazooth only smirked as he reached down and placed a hand on her head, making Naruto narrow his eyes when Mito froze up. As you can see, she is perfectly fine, for now. The fallen angel said as he bent down and summoned a sword of light under Mito's chin. It's simple. Defeat me and you both can leave here, but if you lose then I will kill you both. He wasn't able to finish his sentence as Naruto disappeared from his sight and appeared at his side before slamming a fist at Bazooth's face and sending him flying into several trees. Naruto lowered his arm and went down to Mito's level, creating a small blade of light to cut her bindings. Are you alright Mito-chan? You're not hurt are you? The young Raditz stared at her brother quietly for a few seconds before tears started to form in her eyes. She instantly wrapped her arms around his neck and cried, Ani-chan. Naruto couldn't help but smile as he wrapped his arms around his crying sister, rubbing the back of her head. It's alright, I'm glad you're safe. I was so scared, they separated me and Ashia and tied me up. Mito hiccuped as she continued to cry, but I knew you would come Ani-chan. Of course, it's an older brother's job to protect his younger siblings. I'm sorry you had to go through all this. Naruto apologized as he held his sister closer. But soon the blonde slowly pulled away from the girl, his gaze moving towards the direction he had knocked Bazooth, and saw the fallen angel walking back to the clearing with a look that showed both rage and excitement. Mito-chan, I want you to hide behind some of those trees, and this time, don't come out until I say so. The girl looked up at her brother's back before nodding her head, turning around and ran to the trees in the other direction. But not before turning back to her brother with a serious expression, kick his ass Ani-chan. Naruto could help but smirk as he felt the girl run towards the trees. She really got quite a mouth from Teiwaya and Karen. No problem, I'll end this quickly. That caught Bazooth's attention as a cold smirk grew on his face. Oh really? In case you forgot, I was the one who won our last battle. And this time. The brunette created a spear of light and threw it at Mito's retreating back. I don't intend to let any of you live. The spear didn't get close to the girl as a second spear intercepted it, causing both to shatter in an explosion. Bazooth gritted his teeth and turned to look at Naruto, who had a smirk on his face. What happened last time doesn't matter, Naruto said as he created dozens of weapons around him, but a few of the weapons were made up created from his newly acquired darkness magic. This time, I will defeat you. Those eyes of yours, you really think you can beat me? You may be able to create more than one weapon, but I have more experience with handling this many. Abaza shouted as he summoned his own weapons, forming a wall of swords as they glowed brightly. Let's just see how long you'll hold on to that determination, Naruto Uzumaki. With a swing of his arm, all of his weapons fired at once. Clenching his hand, Naruto stood tall as he shouted back. I will win, fallen angel Abaza. The weapons around the blonde shot forward, clashing with Abaza's and causing small explosions with each collision. Church basement. The three devils ran down the staircase until they arrived at a very large room. There were a large amount of priests surrounding a flight of stairs escalated up to a platform that was located at the back of the room. But what instantly caught their attention was a very pale Ashia, who was chained to a large stone cross in a small white dress. A green glow surrounded her small body and into the cross she was attached to. There was another woman with her, it was Rainer, the fallen angel who had killed Issei. Welcome, Devil-san. Rainer greeted with a smirk on her face as she turned to face them. Rainer, give Ashi back. Issei shouted as he raised his sacred gear, making the fallen angel smirk before turning her head back to Ashia. That voice, Issei-san. Ashia weakly raised her head and saw Issei and the others. Before she could say anything else, the cross she was on began to glow bright. The blonde girl started to cry out with a pain-filled voice. Kiba narrowed his eyes at the scene. It seems Bucho and Naruto-senpai were right about the fallen angels taking Ashia-san's sacred gear from her. The Issei quickly looked at Kiba with white eyes. But if they do that, then Ashia will. She'll die. As soon as Kaneko finished saying that, a green light emerged from the nun's body. The blonde's usual bright green eyes grew dim, and her head slumped forward as a pair of rings hovered in midair in front of her. Ashia. Issei cried out as he and the others charged forward, trying to fight their way through to the platform. Get the fuck out of our way. At last, the power I've desired for so many years, twilight healing, it belongs to me. Rainer ignored the devil as she reached for the glowing rings. With these, I've become the strongest fallen angel ever. Sorry, but I don't think so. A voice called out, making Rainer turn around in time to see a blur go right past her, followed by the sound of something being smashed apart. She turned around again to see Arcude standing over a destroyed cross holding Ashia in a bridal style, and the twilight healing rings in her hand. I'll be taking these two with me. Why the hell are you? Give me that sacred gear. Rainer shouted as she created a long light purple spear of light in her hand. Arcude-senpai. Issei shouted as he knocked a priest away. Ashia weakly opened her eyes to see the person holding her. Who are you? I'm a friend of Naruto and everyone else's. Don't worry, we'll get you out of here. But you have to stay strong, okay? Arcude gave the girl a smile, but internally she already knew the girl only had seconds, maybe a minute or two left. Ashia slowly nodded her head with a weak smile. What makes you think you're getting away from me? Rainer shouted as she jabbed her spear forward, but Arcude dodged the spear with ease and leaped off the platform, landing a great distance away next to Issei and the others. You won't escape. Several priests charged towards the four with their weapons at the ready, but were repelled and sent flying back by Kiba and Kaneko. Kiba looked back at Issei and Arcude. Hiyadu-kun, you and Arcude-senpai get Ashia-sen out of here. Kaneko-chan and I will hold these guys back. But what about you guys? Issei exclaimed, not wanting to leave them behind. Don't worry about us, we can handle these guys just fine. Kiba answered as he dodged a slash from a light sword before cutting the priest down. Kaneko punched the priest in the face before jumping off his body towards another, and delivered a spin kick at his ribs, and sent him crashing into the ground. Get out of here. Issei, let's go. This girl doesn't have a lot of strength left. Arcude said as she adjusted Ashia in her arms before running to the stairs, but Issei had a hesitant look on his face. Hiyadu-kun, you made a promise to Naruto-senpai to rescue her. Kiba shouted as he clashed blades with another priest. Just trust us. You guys better make it back okay, Issei growled as he turned around and started running after Arcude. And when you do, start calling me Issei, you got it. We're a team after all. Church Force. Mito was watching the battle between Naruto and Abaza rage on from behind one of the trees, in total awe at the power her brother had. He was matching Abaza blow for blow, and he didn't even seem a little winded. The young girl was so caught up in the battle she didn't notice a figure coming up from behind her. The figure reached a hand out and gently placed it on Mito's shoulder, making the girl look back as fast as she could, with a scared look on her face. But the scared look soon disappeared as she recognized the person staring down at her, Ryu-senpai. Mito-chan, I'm glad you're safe. Ryu said with a comforting smile, but was cut off guard when Mito wrapped her arms around her waist. Feeling the younger girl trembling a little, Ryu continued to smile as she hugged Mito. After a few minutes, Mito pulled back from Ria's with a questioning look. Ryu-senpai, are you a devil too? Seeing there was no reason to lie, the older Ridi nodded. Yes I am, are you afraid? No, I'm not, maybe a little, Mito admitted as she looked away from her, making Rias giggle a little before standing up straight. It's alright if you are, it's normal when in situations like this. Rias placed a hand on her shoulder. But I'm glad you are not hurt, as something did happen to you, both your brother and I would never forgive ourselves. Mito said nothing else as she looked back over to the battle, which had taken to the skies. Rias followed her gaze and watched the battle with a smile. It was lucky for them that a barrier had already been created to avoid any humans from seeing the battle. Show me how strong you really are, Naruto-kun, the strength of a man I believe in. Up in the sky, Abazoth was gritting his teeth as he glared at the man flying across from him, with 8 golden devil wings spread out behind him. They had been fighting for a while now, at first using projectile weapons before shifting it to close combat. But while Abazoth's clothes had rips and tears in it, the worst Naruto's had were dirt marks. This wasn't right, he was supposed to be the strong one in this battle, he was the one supposed to be winning, he was supposed to be the one with a confident expression on his face. Don't be so cocky, Uzumaki. Abazoth exclaimed as he flew at high speeds at Naruto, who raised his sword in time to block his attack. The colliding blow was strong enough to shake several branches from the many trees below them. The two continued to clash with their blades, making sparks fly and trees rustle below them. Naruto easily blocked a swing aimed at his head before spinning his body like a cartwheel, and slammed his armored boot against Abazoth's head, sending the man barreling down, before regaining his balance thanks to his wings, and stopped him from colliding into the ground. The fallen angel snapped his head up just in time to dodge Naruto's downward swing, which created a giant crater upon contact. Abazoth dove at Naruto, creating a spear of light with his second hand, and swung both weapons at Naruto, who created a barrier shield to block the attacks. I'm not being cocky, Abazoth, I just can't believe I've had all this power the whole time. Naruto smirked as he held the shield up nice and strong. Compared to how I was before, this is incredible. Really now, well don't let it get to your head. Abazoth shouted as weapons of light surrounded both him and Naruto. But before he could fire his weapons, Naruto's body glowed with gold and black energy, before shooting out spikes and destroying all the weapons. What the hell was that? Abazoth questioned as he retreated a few yards back. That was a glimpse of my power. Thanks to my clan's power, I can use darkness magic as well. Unfortunately, while I am wearing this armor, I can only use a little bit of my darkness magic, since this armor is based on increasing my light magic. Naruto explained as he summoned a second sword. This one was made out of darkness, but even this amount of darkness is enough to help me. Naruto shouted as he flew at Abazoth with his swords posed to strike. Don't think I'll allow myself to be defeated by someone like you. Abazoth shouted back as he flew at Naruto. Rias and Mito watched as Naruto and Abazoth kept fighting, trading blow for blow. The two were so high up that the two resembled dancing lights, clashing and making sparks fly every time their blades met before becoming lights again. Oni-chan is so powerful, Mito muttered as she stared up with a look of amazement. Rias nodded her head before her gaze drifted back to the church, feeling a burst of power come that direction. It looks like everything was coming to an end for both groups. I refuse to lose, Naruto Uzumaki. Abazoth's face was covered in rage as he combined his weapons and transformed it into a large zanbato before swinging it down at Naruto, who was holding his two swords and crossed over one another. I am the one who will be victorious. As the weapon came down, Naruto dismissed the sword in his left hand and raised it to grab onto the zanbato mid-swing, stopping it easily, as his red eyes stared into Abazoth's shocked ones. The fallen angel didn't have time to react as Naruto swung the blade in his left hand and smacked the flat end against the brunette's face, twisting both of their bodies, so Abazoth would be sent crashing headfirst into the ground. A large crater formed around him as he let out a painful groan, before quickly lifting himself to his feet. Naruto was already on the move, however, as he dove down at Abazoth with two swords at the ready. One was black with red and purple tinting, while the other was golden. Abazoth growled as he summoned more of his weapons and fired them all at Naruto, but the blonde avoided each and every one of them, as he brought the swords across his chest. Abazoth. This battle, Naruto exclaimed as he got several feet from the fallen angel before swinging his swords out, and landed on the behind him in a crouch position with his arms stretched out. Is over. Nothing seemed to happen as the two stood there. Naruto stood up and dismissed his sword. As soon as he did, two diagonal slash marks appeared on Abazoth's chest, and a large amount of blood filled the air. The fallen angel could only mutter one thing before he started to fall forward. I, actually, lost. With that said, the four-winged man's body collapsed to the floor, causing blood to explode over the ground around him, as his body made contact. Naruto silently stared at Abazoth's body with an emotionless expression. I win, Abazoth, may you rest in peace. Pointing an open hand at the body, Naruto released a concentrated blast of light magic, and incinerated Abazoth's body completely. Even the feathers that left the body didn't survive. Seeing that there was nothing remaining, the blonde turned around and made his way to where he knew Mito and Rias, who he had sensed earlier, were. It's alright for you guys to come out. Mito was the first one to come out from behind the tree as she ran at her brother and leaped at him, making catch her so she wouldn't hurt herself. Oni-chan, that was so fucking awesome. You were all over the place and moving so freaking fast, and then you kicked that asshole's ass. That's it, I'm never leaving you alone with Teiwaya again, and that goes for Karen as well. Naruto's eyebrow twitched at how his cousins were corrupting his baby sister. What? But Oni-chan and Mito whined. No buts, Naruto quickly replied, making the girl pout before turning her head away from him. Shaking his head a bit at his sister's actions, he turned to Rias as she walked up to him. So how did I do? For your first battle as a high-class devil, I have to say it wasn't bad. But you did stretch the battle a little. Rias replied as she gave him a playful smile. Naruto smiled back at her. What can I say, I was actually enjoying myself. I've never felt so strong before. Raising his right hand up, he stared at his covered hand. I can still get stronger too, and I'll make sure not to let it get to my head. Naruto looked up at a surprised Rias with a smirk. That's what you were about to say, right? Rias quickly got rid of her surprised expression as she turned her head away from him. As long as you know that, then I have nothing to say. Don't worry, Rias-chan, I already know why I need to get as strong as I can. I have to protect everyone that's precious to me, like my parents, Mito-chan, Ashia-chan, Saber, and even you. Rias turned to look at him, a small blush on her face. After she heard him mention her, Naruto gave her a smile. So let's do our best, Rias-chan. Of course, Naruto-kun. Rias smiled back at him. The two didn't notice Mito looking back and forth between them, before a mischievous look appeared on her face. Hey, Oni-chan. The two devil turned to the girl and noticed she was giving them a sly look. Are you and Rias-senpai dating? Rias and Naruto blinked a few times before turning to each other. A small blush appeared on their faces before they turned away from each other. Well, now's not the time for questions like that. Naruto answered as he shook his head a few times. We should get to the church. The others should be with Ashia-chan right about now. Ashia-chan, that's right. She's in trouble. Mito cried out as she remembered the female blonde. She quickly grabbed Naruto and Ria's hand and started pulling them to the church. We have to hurry. Mito-chan, there's a faster way for us to get there. Naruto said to the girl, making her come to a halt. We can teleport there. Teleport? She watched as her brother raised his hand and created a large glowing circle near them. Sugoi. That is so cool. Naruto grinned down at his sister before turning to Rias. He nodded her head with a serious look, making his grin disappear as he understood her silent message. It was time. Inside the church. Booze. Issei has glaring at Rainer while raging tear-filled eyes, ignoring the extremely painful wounds he had in his legs. A recently deceased Ashia was being held by a solemn-looking Arcuite several feet away. His wings stretched out behind him as he took another step closer to the panicking fallen angel, who took a step back. Memories of when he, Naruto, his sister and Rias met Ashia, when they talked while taking her to the church, when she defended him from Freed, his promise to Naruto, and especially the memory of a few minutes ago when Ashia died in his arms. All these just fueled the rage he felt towards Rainer. How are you still standing? There's no way you should be able to shrug off those light-based attacks. Your blood should be boiling from the inside. It does hurt. It hurts so much that it feels like my legs are being ripped to shreds, Issei replied as he took another step. But right now, I'm too fucking pissed off to care about that. The only thing I care about right now, the only thing I desire, is to turn you into a dead corpse. Explosion. At that moment Issei's sacred gear glowed brighter before it began to change. Issei's fingers were now covered with metal claws, and his side gaining more spikes with a sleek design on his gauntlet. Issei looked at his sacred gear in awe for a second, before narrowing his eyes back at Rainer. This was just what he was hoping for. What? Rainer was shocked at the new form Issei's gauntlet took, and the power she could feel coming from the pawn. But that sacred gear is just a twice critical. She didn't get an answer as Issei continued to get closer. That's because it isn't a twice critical. It's been a while since I've seen that gauntlet. Arcuite thought as Issei took another step forward while Rainer took a step back. Stay away. Rainer shouted in desperation as she threw a light spear at Issei, but he effortlessly deflected before leaping forward. Rainer let out a scream of fear before she spun around and tried to escape by flying. She didn't get far as Issei grabbed onto her ankle, making her look back to see he had his gauntlet pulled back, ready to strike. Like hell I'll let you escape. Issei shouted, pulling her back towards him. But I'm a supreme. Who the fuck cares? You're an angel, Issei shouted, slamming his fist uppercut, making her scream in pain as she hit the glass ceiling, breaking it as she went through it. So fly, you fucking bitch. He watched through the window as Rainer fell towards the ground with a feeling of satisfaction, but it soon died down, as he felt the boost of strength he had disappear, and his legs lost their strength. Lucky for him, Kiba caught him just as he started to fall. Looks like you were able to beat that fallen angel on your own. You're late, pretty boy. Issei replied as Kiba raised his arm over his shoulder to hold Issei up. Sorry, but Bucho didn't want me to interfere with your fight, Kiba said with a smile. Bucho did, Issei muttered. That's right, the brunette turned around to see Rias, Naruto and Mito walking up to them. Rias had a proud look on her face. I had a feeling you could defeat her, and I was right. Ucho and Naruto had finished up their battles and rescued Mito-chan. Kiba explained as Rias walked past them towards the entrance door, where Kaneko was walking in while dragging Reiner behind her. They transported to where Kaneko and I were and easily got rid of the remaining priests. I see, man, I feel like an idiot for worrying about you guys. Issei muttered to himself, but suddenly felt a cold metal tap him on the head, making him look up to see Naruto looking at him with his hands stretched out. Naruto-senpai. It's alright to worry about your friends, Issei. Truthfully, I would have given you a beating if you didn't care about them at all. Naruto said with a smile, but noticed Issei flinched a little at the word friends. Issei, you okay? Issei didn't have a chance to say anything as Kaneko spoke up. I brought her like you ordered, Bucho. The petite girl tossed a beaten fallen angel at Ria's feet. Nice to meet you, fallen angel Reiner. Rias greeted, making the woman look up. My name is Rias Gremory, heiress of the Gremory family. The Gremory family heiress Reiner repeated with fear evident in her voice. Nice to meet you, though it won't be for long. Rias raised one of her clenched hands, and opened it to reveal 3 black feathers that slowly fell to the ground. All of your forces outside have been blasted away and neutralized. Blasted away? Issei repeated as he started to regain feeling in his legs. The president is known as the crimson-haired ruined princess, and the princess of destruction. Kiba explained, as Issei managed to stand on his own. She's the daughter of the household possessing the power of destruction. Even among the young devils, she was known as a genius. Sugoi. I didn't know I was serving such a master. Issei exclaimed. Reina could only stare at the feathers as they fell to the ground in front of her, before she heard the sound of footsteps making their way next to Rias. The fallen angel looked up and let out a gasp as she saw it was Naruto looking down at her. She shifted her gaze to the others, and saw that Mito was standing with them. If both Naruto and Mito were there then. Reiner began to shake even more. Abazoth was a powerful fallen angel, one who was close to getting his 3rd set of wings soon. If this devil had defeated him then. As you can see, I'm still very much alive, though I can't say the same for Abazoth. Naruto said as he finally dismissed his armor, which turned into an orb before reforming into saber. Reina could only grit her teeth as she glared up at the two. Daughter of Gremory, descendant of Lucifer, how dare you both. We've been aware that you fallen angels have been in the area for a while now, ever since Naruto-kun had first made contact with Abazoth a month ago. Reiner's eyes widened a bit at that information. Abazoth had never told them about that. And then you targeted Issei. I had a feeling you were scheming something, but it was actually Naruto-kun who discovered your true plans. We wouldn't have interfered if you hadn't caused us trouble, but that was before you tried to attack and kill both members of my peerage, and an ally to the Gremory family. So this started even before I got involved. Issei spoke up, making Rias turn towards him and notice his sacred gear had changed. Issei, your sacred gear has. Oh yeah, it just changed suddenly during the battle. Issei shrugged, lifted up the gauntlet to actually look at it this time, and he had to admit, it looked pretty cool. A red dragon, oh, I get it now. Rias nodded to herself as she figured it out in her head. Placing a hand on her hip, she turned back to look at the woman still lying on the floor. Fallen Angel Reiner, the scared gear in Issei Hidu's possession, is not a mere twice critical. What? It doubles the power of its wielder every 10 seconds. Rias began to explain, taking in the small pleasure of watching all the emotions that appeared on Reiner's face. It allows any to possess it to surpass even a god in power and destroy them. It is one of the 13 Longinus. The Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet, boosted gear. This can't be true. A guy like him has one of the legendary sacred gears known to kill God himself. Reiner thought with an enraged look. She couldn't believe she dismissed him so easily earlier. It may be potent, but it takes time to power up, so it's not almighty. It's this fallen angel mistakes for underestimating you and letting her guard down. Rias said as she gave Issei a quick glance. Now it's time for you to disappear, fallen angel. Issei-kun. Reiner calls out as she changed back to the form she used to trick Issei, surprising everyone and shocking the brunette as he looked at his first girlfriend. Please help me. Reiner begged as she stared at Issei. I might have said all that, but as a fallen angel I had no choice but to do what I did. Yuma-chan, Issei spoke up as he stood motionless. See? As proof, I didn't throw this away. Reiner said as she raised her left hand up, showing a pink bracelet on her wrist. You remember, don't you? You bought this for me. Why do you still have that? Issei asked as he walked towards Reiner. I just couldn't part with it. I mean, you gave it, Reiner answered as she looked up at Issei with teary eyes. The boy could only stare at the girl with a sad expression. Behind him Kiba and Kaneko turned to each other. This is bad, Kaneko-chan. Kiba whispered to the girl, getting a nod back before they started to move. But they were stopped by Rias and Naruto raising their arms and halting them in their tracks. When Kiba turned to the high-class devil he saw they both were staring at the situation in front of them with serious expressions. Please save me, Issei. Reiner cried out again. Just, how far will you go? Issei finally said before turning around and didn't look at anything as he started to walk away. Naruto-senpai, please do it. Naruto nodded his head and walked towards Rainer until he was towering over her. The girl let out a gasp and tried to scoot backwards, as Naruto created an orb of light in his hand before speaking. For threatening the lives of my family and friends, judgment. Rainer barely had time to scream as Naruto shoved the orb inside her and made it explode, causing feathers to fly everywhere. Issei just stood in silence. No one moved as the boys stared at the feathers floating around them. Until Mito asked the one question that made everyone freeze up. Where's Ashi and Ichin? A few minutes later. Everyone watched in sadness as Mito bawling her eyes out, holding on to Naruto as she cried for the loss of her big sister. The older blonde said nothing as he continued to hold his sister. Naruto-senpai, Issei softly called out to him, his gaze pointed at the floor. I'm sorry, even though I promised you, and even with the help from everyone. Naruto looked up at Issei as the brunette clenched his fists tightly. I still failed to save her. It's okay, Issei, you just lacked experience. There's no one that can blame you for this. Naruto said as he pulled away from Mito, turning his head to Rias. Besides, there is still one thing we can do, right Rias? Rias smiled at the Lucifer air before nodding her head, raising a hand to show a chess piece in her palm. That's right, we still have this. Issei stared at the chess piece for a second before his eyes widened. You mean? That's right, Rias replied as she held the bishop piece closer to her face. I'm going to resurrect this nun as a devil. Naruto moved the tearful Mito next to Kaneko and patted her on the head. Don't worry Mito-chan, everything is going to be fine. Ani-chan. Mito looked up at her older brother in confusion, but didn't get a reply as he moved over to where Ashia was laid on the bench, and gently picked her up before placing her on the altar. Naruto slid the twilight healing ring securely onto Ashia's fingers before taking a step back, as Rias moved closer and rested the bishop piece over Ashia's chest, where her heart was. A red magic circle formed under Ashia's body as Rias took a step back and began to speak. I, Rias Gremory command under my name for thee, Ashia Argento, to become my servant and lead a new life as my bishop. Everyone watched as the bishop glowed brightly before it sank into Ashia's body. The seal under her glowed brighter before slowly dissolving. Everyone watched as the bishop piece glowed as did Ashia as the Gremory seal appeared beneath her. Light shined upwards making a few of them covered their eyes. The bishop piece then absorbed into Ashia's chest, signifying it was accepted. Nothing happened for the first few seconds, but then her rings began to glow on Ashia's hands before disappearing back into her body. A small smile appeared on Naruto's face as he saw Ashia's body twitch, and it grew once he saw her eyes slowly open. Ashia sat up slowly and looked around in confusion, before her eyes settled on Rias, who was standing over her. Rias-san, what are you? Welcome back, Ashia-chan. Rias replied with a smile. Ashia-nichan. Mito shouted as she ran over to the blonde girl and wrapped her arms around her tightly. Mito-chan. Ashia blinked in confusion before noticing another figure standing over them. She looked up to see Naruto smiling down at her. Naruto-san. Naruto bent down and brought both of his sisters into a hug, surprising both of them as he brought them closer to him. I'm so glad you both are safe. Everyone noticed Naruto seemed to be trembling a bit as he held the two girls, but it soon stopped as he pulled away from them. Come on, let's go home. Ashia and Mito blinked a few times before looking at each other, and then slowly turned their gaze to Naruto, with bright smiles on their faces. Hi Ani-chan Naruto-san. Everyone all had smiles on their face as they watched the warm family moment happening between the three, happy to see that everything had worked out fine. Well, almost everyone. Up above them, near one of the highest points of the church, a figure could be seen watching the scene with narrow eyes. Creating a circle next to him, the figure walked into it before gazing back down at the group below as they started to leave, or more specifically, Naruto and Ashia. Naruto paused mid-step before turning his head back to the area above them, catching a small flash of something for a second. Narrowing his eyes a bit, the blonde scanned for any other presences. Is everything okay Naruto-kun? The blonde stopped his scan and turned back to see Rias and Arcued looking back at him with curious looks. Naruto-sama. Saber flew in front of Naruto with a worried look. Naruto looked back one last time before shaking his head, making his way to their sides as the four followed after the others. No, it's nothing, just thought I sensed something. The issue involving the fallen angels may have been resolved, but Naruto knew there was still more he had to do, like the conversation with his parents and grandmother about their devil bloodline. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.